Hello and welcome to the second of our Christmas specials. Happy Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I hope you had a wonderful Christmas.
Yeah. What did you get?
Many things.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, a similar amount of things.
Great.
Yeah.
I hope you had a good Christmas Day. I hope it wasn't a disappointment. I hope it was as good as last year's Christmas Day because, of course, if you saw something or experienced something last year and then experienced something very similar that wasn't as good this year, that would be a disappointment for you, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And on that note, the second of our Christmas specials is on Die Hard 2, Die Harder. We, of course, covered Die Hard last Christmas. Last Christmas, I gave you Die Hard. If you haven't seen Die Hard 2, it's available on DVD in all good stockings and under trees everywhere, all across the land, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's been out for 27 years.
Yeah, 27 years. Yeah, spoilers ahead, as ever, as we recap Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
So just before we go on, Bruce Willis is in it?
Yeah.
Alan Rickman? He died, didn't he?
Yeah. Spoilers, mate, for Die Hard 1.
Come on.
Emergencies. We are in a code yellow.
Instrument landing system is down.
Backup systems won't come up.
Every system's dead.
These guys shut us down.
Attention all controllers. We have a code red alert. We just bought maybe 2 hours. After that, those planes low on fuel aren't going to be circling. They're going to be dropping on the White House lawn.
I want every officer recalled and assembled in body armor with full weaponry in the motor pool in 5 minutes. It's time to kick it.
Our own SWAT team's gone.
Well, maybe they're just a little bit more creative than you think.
Start looking for a new miracle.
Who the hell is this?
We don't need a loose cannon on this deck.
You get the hell out of my office before I throw you out of my damn airport.
You're the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Story of my life.
John McClane is waiting at Washington Dulles International Airport for his wife Holly to arrive from Los Angeles when he spots two suspicious men taking a package into a restricted area. Put off from informing the overbearing security forces, as he'd earlier been given a parking ticket, he pursues the men himself, ending up in a gunfight from which only one of the suspicious men escapes. Examining the dead man, he learns he is a mercenary believed to be killed in action serving in the US military. He relays the situation to Airport Police Captain Carmine Lorenzo, but is ejected from his office. The other mercenary reunites with Colonel William Stewart at their base of operations in a church near the airport. They take over the air traffic control systems, cut off all communication to the planes, and seize control of the airport, leaving dozens of planes stranded flying overhead, including that of Holly Gennaro, who discovers she is sharing a plane with journalist and dickhead of some renown, Richard Thornburg.
Was he in the first one?
Yes, he was.
And she punched him in the head?
Yes, that's right. Nothing gets past you, does it?
Come on.
Colonel Stewart and his men intend to rescue a drug lord named Esperanza, who is being extradited to the United States to stand trial, and they demand a plane on which to escape. A SWAT team heads to an unfinished annex of the airport to try and reach a communications dish and re-establish contact with the planes, but they are ambushed by Stewart's men and massacred. In retaliation, Stewart impersonates an air traffic controller and tells one of the circling planes to land, but sets their ground level as 200 feet below what it should be. Despite McClane's efforts, the plane crashes into the runway, killing everybody on board. A US Special Forces squad is called in, led by Major Grant. By listening to a two-way radio, McClane discovers that Esperanza has killed his captors and is now landing his plane. He reaches the plane before Stewart's men, but is trapped inside the cockpit of Esperanza's aircraft. Stewart's henchmen throw grenades in to kill McClane, but he escapes using an ejector seat. Stewart's men return to their church hideout with Esperanza. McClane locates the hideout and tells Grant, who launches an assault. When some of Stewart's men escape, McClane grabs one of their guns and gives chase. However, the gun he's picked up doesn't kill anyone he shoots at. He discovers they are filled with blanks and surmises that Major Grant is in on the villainous operation. McClane contacts Lorenzo to tell him the story, but Lorenzo doesn't listen until McClane fires the machine gun full of blanks at Lorenzo, proving his story.
Imagine he just like something had gone wrong and that was full of bullets.
Well, yeah.
That'd be a very different ending.
It would be a very different ending. Aboard Holly's plane, Thornburg listens in on a radio pack and discovers the situation, which was hitherto kept secret from the public. To make the most of his scoop, he phones in a news report on the story, which sends the airport into chaos before Holly tases him for the greater good. McClane hitches a ride on a news helicopter which drops him on the wing of the plane on which Stewart, Esperanza and Grant are escaping. Grant joins him on the wing in an attempt to kill him, but instead is thrown from the wing and into the engine. Stewart then successfully throws McClane off the wing, but not before McClane releases the plane's fuel dump. Assigning himself international judge, jury and executioner, McClane ignites the fuel trail with his lighter and the plane is destroyed, killing everybody on board. The flaming wreckage acts as a beacon for the other planes to land, which they do successfully, and John is reunited with his wife in time for Christmas. And he gets his parking ticket torn up.
Doesn't get his car back though.
That's true, but the strange handyman for the airport comes over to give him a lift on like a luggage carrier.
He looked like Mark Rylance.
Right, yeah.
I kept thinking it was him, but it was about 30 years too early to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was The Hard, The Harder. In Germany.
In German, yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
Well, you alluded to it earlier,
Mm.
and it's a shadow of Die Hard, isn't
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Much like last week's, or much like Christmas Eve's movie, Home Alone 3, was a shadow of Home Alone 1 and 2. It lacks the charm, the Christmassiness, and the overall enjoyment.
Yeah.
And takes a much darker turn, which is kind of unwelcome for a light-hearted action movie.
Yeah. Roger Ebert, in his review of Die Hard 2, said that they took the Roy Rogers cowboy John McClane from the first one and turned him into Rambo, which is pretty difficult to argue with, really.
Yeah. Rambo is like about the horror of war.
Yeah.
And this is not dissimilar.
But he goes from being a charismatic, wrong place, wrong time, man trying to make the best of it in his vest and his bare feet, to a, the all-out action hero that he could have, that he had the potential to descend into, I suppose. And the film's, when compared with the first one, the film's humorless and you're right in that it's not a shadow of the first one.
Yeah, it's tonally just, I don't understand what it is.
Right.
Because at moments it's like a slasher movie. The way he kills people is like feeding them into threshing machines.
Right. It's like luggage.
Or
whatever that is.
Driving an icicle through their eye.
Yeah, that is a particularly nasty.
But the thing is, he reacts when he kills people. He's not happy about it. He's like,
no,
fuck, oh Christ, this is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But like, in some ways, it'd be better if he made light of it. Like if he,
but then he does it. It's not so much. It's not. He doesn't do that as much in this one, does he? It's almost like he doesn't have the opportunity to do it. And like I don't think John McClane works as a character when he's facing up against such large scale, dramatic scenarios.
No,
like it's just it doesn't have the same. Die Hard works so well because it's one guy like using his wits to outsmart and outgun sort of 8 terrorists or however many there are. But like one man who's not even in his one man who doesn't even have like jurisdiction. Like in Die Hard, he's the only hope basically because the police aren't there. In Die Hard 2, the police are there, but you just can't get them to listen. So you're right in the sense that it is like a slasher. You know, he's seen the danger and no one will believe him, sort of thing.
Yeah. But then he's also the killer.
Yeah, but it's bizarre. Like it's
if take a James Bond film, right? If James Bond was fighting someone on a luggage carousel, which isn't out of like the realm of possibility for an earlier James Bond film,
yeah,
and then he fed them into what happens to be the giant roller, he'd say something
like witty aside.
Yeah, he'd like straighten his tire and say,
yeah.
Like,
there's the one where he pushes a guy into, or like throws a guy into like a newspaper machine, which is not dissimilar, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then all the bloody newspaper starts being pumped out, and he goes, "They'll print anything these days."
Right. That's what John McClane should have said. Something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, next stop, bag there. You know,
Yeah.
Bag there. Because I said the bags. What's something you'd say at the airport?
Did you pack the bag yourself?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Right. That would have been like funny and like a reprieve from the horror of the situation. But as it is, he like kills someone horribly violently, is disgusted with what he sees when he does it, and then like goes away.
Yeah. So it's basically someone fighting their way through an 80s action movie, but going like, oh God, oh,
exactly, yeah.
Oh no, oh. Yeah. Apart from the bit where he like blows up an international airliner and like rolls around on the floor laughing hysterically like a maniac.
Well, at the end. But earlier in the film, the plane crashes, right? And the wreckage is just like awful. And like there's like a lingering shot of like a child's doll.
Yeah.
And you're like, children died in this. And they're like,
yeah.
That's not funny.
No. Yeah. You think of the people who get killed in Die Hard, and it's mainly terrorists and the guy does loads of blow.
Yeah, that made the exact note. I've got, other than some goons and the yuppie guy, nobody of note dies in
Die Hard.
Die Hard 1.
Yeah.
In this one.
And Mr. Takanada, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He will not be joining us for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's a funny line.
Well, I mean, should we get to the crux of it?
Go on,
because there's the one thing. This film is missing the one thing that elevated Die Hard above a generic action film.
Yeah,
and that's Alan Rickman, and it's when we were doing the Christmas Eve podcast for Home Alone 3, we said, much like relatives, after they've passed on, you don't realise how much you miss them until they're gone. Alan Rickman, you don't realise how good he was until he's not in a Die Hard film, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is just a at best par action movie.
The guy who's like Colonel, what's his name? The Colonel. Colonel Stewart, right? He looks like in the opening scene when he's like getting a t-shirt on, he looks like Rutger Hauer. I thought, this will be good.
He's doing like Krav Maga, isn't he, in his hotel room? Yeah. And he's doing it like naked, and it's quite a eye-catching way of introducing a villain, right? Because it's like, oh, look at this villain doing a weird thing. Yeah. Which is like time-honoured.
And the fact that he looks like Rutger Hauer because he's so dramatic and also is
ripped.
Shot. Yeah, and it looks like in Blade Runner, right?
Yeah.
But then it's not Rutger Hauer. No. It's some guy.
Yeah. And then they basically have like 3 or 4 villains in this, and none of them are memorable.
No.
And it's just it's disappointing, isn't it? It's like you're waiting for that person who is going to be saying, he will not be joining us for the rest of his life. All the equivalent of those like amazing lines, and they just never turn up in the film. No. And then you're left with that gaping void.
Exactly. The best line in the whole film is, "Can we get a word? I'll give you 2. Fuck and you." Right?
Yeah.
That's probably the best line, and it's not even that good.
No. Yeah, that makes me cringe a little bit, actually, that line.
What about, if you get me this story, I'll have your baby. I don't want that kind of ride.
Yeah. That's not bad. Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned earlier about John McClane and the stuff he was saying as he's going through his adventure.
Yeah.
And there seems to be this belief that, like, you know, in the first one, he talks to himself, and it's sort of like the way that you would talk to yourself when you're like mumbling and annoyed about doing a chore or something. And he's like, "Oh, come to the cars, could get together, like, have a few laughs." Like all that sort of thing.
But it's like, if you like, or something goes crazy, you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah. And in this one, it's like he's sarcastic. He's doing like a sarcastic commentary on everything that happens.
But he makes the same joke about 5 times, and it gets increasingly less funny, which is, why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
Why does this keep happening to me? Oh my God, why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
And then at the end, Holly says, why does this keep happening to us? And you're like, well, it wasn't funny when he said it.
Yeah. It doesn't have the same zip and wit of the original, and it doesn't have the villain. And I think that's, other than that, like everything else about it is just like par, 80s, 90s action movie, right? Yeah. It's like, it's fine.
But he goes,
the action's decent, and
is the action decent? Because you got the main set pieces are obviously the plane crash, which looks pretty authentic, I guess. It's silly, but then the worst thing for me, which took me like I was kind of with the film until this,
right?
They throw 9 grenades into the cockpit of the plane John's hiding in, and he ejects out and just like fires up.
Yeah,
oh my God, it looks so cool.
It's the moment that he crosses into sort of 80s action hero indestructible status, isn't it? Like, you think Die Hard, there are sort of those moments of quiet where it's like him in a bathroom and he's talking to Al on the phone, and he's going like, I don't think I'm going to make it out of this, and he's like pulling shards of glass out of his foot that have been like ruined. In this one, it's like, as you say, he's on ejector seats. He's like, climbing onto the sides of of airplane wings.
Yeah. So the point in the first one was that he was just a smart man who happened to be a policeman.
Exactly.
In this one, he's
not even smart. He's like he's streetwise, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he's like the unpredictable factor. Whereas in this one, it's like he's a step ahead of everyone, including all the like police and army forces that are on site.
Yeah, I mean the army are actually against him.
But then like it, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
I think it's we're down on it.
Watchable.
We're down on it because it's not as good as Die Hard, but it is still a pretty serviceable action movie. There are some decent shootouts and things.
Yeah.
They basically repeat the scene where you remember in the original Die Hard, a guy goes, "Next time you want to kill someone, don't hesitate."
Right.
Where John is like trapped under some debris in front of an escalator, and he like makes the escalator run faster so he can get the gun. Oh, that's quite a funny moment. And there's a few like little creative action scenes like that, but they're nowhere near the same.
I quite liked the fight on the plane. On the wing of the plane.
But then it's a James Bond movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's the snowmobile chase. Like it's the stuff that you would get in a James Bond film.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not what the original Die Hard felt like.
No, exactly. Having seen 4 or 5, as in Die Hard 4 or Die Hard 5.
Yeah, we went to see Die Hard 4, 4.0 as it's called in the UK, and I think it's called Live Free or Die Hard in the States.
Did we?
Yeah, we went to see that together, many years ago.
Well, we must have been kids.
Yeah. Babes in Arm. It was the first one that was, I think we went to see it because it was the first Die Hard that was a 12.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. I sure it's me?
Yeah.
Was it the one with Timothy Olyphant? Is the cyber terrorist?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I have seen it, so I must have seen it with you. I believe you now. But that, as I recall, is like, it just like has no memory of Die Hard 1.
It might as well, it might as well do.
It's just a Bruce Willis in an action film.
Yeah, and he says, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker."
Yeah, exactly,
yeah. Great stuff, as always. Sequels, eh? They are the great, brilliant.
Yeah.
If there's one thing we love here at How to Survive, it is unnecessary and unwanted sequels to films that we enjoyed.
What do you think about Al in this movie?
Well, his little cameo eating Twinkies at his desk.
Yeah. And saying, like, you want faxes? That's a first.
Yes.
It's a fax
I'm
jokes.
not a massive fan.
Like, fax jokes.
Yeah.
They didn't need to have a relationship, did they?
They didn't need to have him in there. They didn't need to have a lot of the things that are in this film in there, I think. Yeah. With all that said, slightly disappointing watch, but, you know, the real enjoyment here is, of course, talking about how we would survive.
Yeah.
Joe, have you got any ideas for John, for Colonel Stewart, for Major Grant, for Esperanza?
Esperanza. It's not Hans Gruber, is it?
No, it's not. No.
Well, my first tip's for John.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't die.
No.
Does cause the death of hundreds.
Okay.
Because he goads the terrorists, doesn't he?
Well,
he's on the phone to Colonel Stewart, and he says, basically, what are you going to do, you asshole? And he said, well, I'll show you what I'll do. I'll bring down this plane.
He said. Well, he says, I think that Colonel Stewart's going to do that already because of the attempted SWAT attack.
No, I think it's like John's on the phone to him, and he says something like,
"Yeah, I get that, but it's him bringing down the plane is in retaliation of the."
That's what I say.
Yeah, because they're going there to try and re-establish the communication. And he said, "Oh, if you do that, it will be met with severe punishment or whatever." Yeah,
I'm sure John does say something. It's almost like
I think. I mean, John is one to antagonize people, isn't he?
Yeah,
that's the other thing is that more or less in Die Hard, when he's antagonizing Hans Gruber, he's only putting himself in further danger. Whereas this, he's toying with the lives of thousands of people who are stranded on planes above him.
Yeah, and he does. Like, there is a simple, like, you can track it. Him saying something to Colonel Stewart leads to the immediate death of hundreds of people.
Yeah. So
don't go unpredictable terrorists.
Right. So you're going for like net survival, help the other people survive.
Yeah.
Don't goad terrorists. Seems a fairly reasonable thing.
Yeah.
Something that Alex Pruitt could have taken into account in Home Alone 3. Do you think there's an extent to which, I mean, this is all window dressing just so that they can escape with Esperanza, isn't it?
Yeah. But, I mean, if you are a terrorist, I guess I'm moving to another point, if you don't mind.
No, of course.
Occam's razor, Chris. Familiar with that? Occam's razor?
Yeah, the most simplest explanation is often the correct one.
Yes. Or, simplicity is beautiful kind of thing.
Right.
In this situation, the simplest option would not be to hijack an entire international airport when you can just hijack one plane.
That's true. He takes over the plane. He could just fly it anywhere, couldn't he?
Just go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or, somewhere that's not in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's been extradited.
Yeah, that's right. It's the war on drugs, isn't it?
Yeah. But he's not a US national.
No.
So how can you extradite him?
I think at one point a news report also says that he's a dictator.
Yeah, they call him general, don't they?
Yeah. Of Valverde, I think is the name of the place he's from.
Right.
I think he's just a generic. He's just a fill-in for a generic war criminal, isn't he?
Yeah, but
they've added in the drug angle because it was the 90s.
It was topical.
Reagan.
But the problem is that no dictator's ever been extradited to the United States for trial.
Well, I mean, he could be if he was a war criminal, though.
No. Saddam Hussein was tried in Iraq.
Yeah, but like if it's an international, he'd be tried at The Hague, wouldn't he? Like the Serbian dictators and all that sort of thing. But yeah, like for war crimes, he'd be but he might be arriving in America to be flown to
extraordinary rendition sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know, get flown to The Hague or whatever. He's clearly already been arrested.
Yeah.
Maybe there's been like a coup. It's obviously related to American interventionist policy in Central America, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what that's the real world context it's leaning on. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like your idea. They seem to be able to infiltrate, like military forces.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why not just don't even worry about hijacking it. Just make sure your men are on the plane.
Yeah.
As the pilots or whatever. Job done.
Bribe them.
Don't worry about the whole airport thing. John McClane has a happy Christmas. Everyone's fine. Yeah.
Craziness.
Madness.
It's such a convoluted way of getting one man off a plane.
Yeah, that is true.
Parachute off. Anything.
Yeah. Why don't they? Like, I presume, right? Like the whole Colonel Grant is in on it. Major Grant is in on it.
Yeah.
And everything. I presume that the plan at some point was going to be like, they make it look like they're getting on a plane and then the plane blows up and they're all, they fake their deaths or something.
It doesn't appear to be because they
just fly off. Yeah. But then, like, what was Major Grant going to do?
They were all
just get on the plane. Yeah, they all just get on the plane.
Yeah, and they were on the plane.
That's mental.
Like,
imagine that. Like, the US Special Forces send their men in and they just get on the plane and fly off with the war criminal. That's crazy. Imagine being the commander of that unit, like watching from afar. They just go, hold on. I think they've been taken hostage, have they? I mean, they didn't look like they were sort of shaking hands.
They're changing into swimming trunks. With flip-flops on.
Pouring margaritas for one another.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah. But yeah, hijack the plane. Don't worry about the airport.
Yeah.
Fine. Job done.
If I said to you, like, I've got a friend coming in, I need to sneak him off this plane.
Right. I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, right. So for argument's sake, that happened.
Yeah.
And I said, look, what I'm going to do, right, is take over the entire Heathrow Airport, like air traffic control.
Yeah.
And every single plane I'm going to take, like hundreds of planes. Because the movie says this, it's like 12 in rotation or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be hundreds more coming in over the course of the film.
Yeah.
It's fucking rubbish.
Well, no, they say they divert all the other planes away.
Yeah, but then the radio goes down. So
they do that beforehand. The terrorists say you've got 2 minutes to call planes into like holding formation before we cut it off. So that's what they do. And they divert any planes that are within the sort of landing radius. They have to stay there, but all the other planes go off to the
Why do you have
other
to send them away as well?
Well, presumably they don't have enough fuel.
Should they do?
Well, that's a dramatic. The lack of fuel is a dramatic conceit of the film.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your point is.
Just don't do that. All that thing.
Yeah. Just hijack the plane.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, my first idea, we touched upon it when we were talking about the recap. Don't shoot the machine gun at Lorenzo just to make the point about blank bullets.
Yeah.
Because he'd be shot dead. Like, he fires a whole clip of ammunition at Lorenzo and then it all goes silent and all the police have like drawn their guns on him.
Yeah.
They wouldn't wait. They would shoot him dead.
Yeah.
Because like you wouldn't be able to determine in your mind that Lorenzo definitely wasn't being shot in the time that it took for you to react to that.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like muscle memory. So you'd already be like drawing and firing on John McClane.
Yep.
And he's in a room full of policemen.
Yeah, like 20 of them.
Well, like just fire it into the ceiling. You'd make the same point.
Yes, correct.
Point it at yourself and do it.
Yeah.
He'd obviously get shot dead. Anyway, that's the first one.
Yeah. I can't argue with it because they've all got guns pointed at him.
Yeah, they would shoot him dead. Yeah. The second point is,
but I mean the one way to counteract your point is to say they didn't shoot him dead.
They didn't. Yeah, but I mean you're running quite a risk. It's quite a risky thing. He's got no vested interest other than the fact that his wife's like up there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when they all fly off on the plane with Esperanza, like all the planes will be able to land.
Yeah.
So just let them go. Why don't you do that? That's a little extra one. If you're Richard Thornburg,
is he the journalist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't like create a panic situation when you yourself are in the same situation.
Yeah.
That's not going to help you. Like, creating a panic on the plane and on the ground lessens your chance of surviving
by a great margin.
By a great margin, and you can't enjoy winning a Pulitzer Prize if you're dead.
That's true, and I don't think you get a Pulitzer Prize for phoning a 24-hour news station from a plane.
There's terrorists in the airport.
Yeah,
probably also would be a controversial decision to give a Pulitzer Prize to someone who caused like the ransacking of an airport and presumably loads of injuries as well. So that's a pretty simple bit of advice. Don't cause a panic that's going to like specifically lessen your own chances of surviving.
Yeah, and that does come to fruition. He's laying in the snow at the end of the film and no one will help him.
Yeah, exactly, because they think he's a dickhead.
Yeah. I didn't think he was dead for a while because he got electrocuted and then we're just laying completely motionless with his eyes open.
Yeah. Oh dear. He didn't have a good day at the end, did he?
Yeah, he's a shit.
Any further thoughts from you?
You maybe remember what I said earlier, that John McClane keeps saying, basically, how on earth does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
And the answer is simply because you keep running into action, running into danger. No need for it. Just don't do it. Keep your beak out.
Okay. Does that go against his character's sort of motivations? He seems to be... Remember, he didn't move across the country with his wife and his family because he wanted to...
Stay and clean up New York.
Yeah, exactly. It would suggest that he doesn't always think that clearly when it comes to...
stopping crime.
Yeah, or like sort of the most efficient way of stopping crime, at least.
Yeah. I mean, he sees the people go in the back room. Why does he care?
Well, more to the point, he should just find another security guard. If you don't want to tell that one because he gave you a parking ticket, just find a different one. Someone will care.
Yeah.
Like, even the janitor's sort of like a bit vexed by the situation.
Yeah, he is, yeah. I mean, even that security guard, just tell him. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah. I guess he presumes he's not going to get believed.
I just saw some guys going there. They looked a bit fishy. Oh, really, buddy?
Yeah. This isn't about your car, is it?
That is another thing with this movie that bugged me.
Okay.
Is that the only reason people don't believe him is because they don't like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
that not a good reason to disbelieve someone?
No, because everything he says is correct. He's like, you need to close down.
This is like Home Alone again last week. It's the same police again.
Yeah.
The same problem each week.
You need to close down this. It's a crime scene.
Yeah.
Which is true. And
Yeah.
the policeman's like, no, not.
I gotta get the bags on the plane.
Right, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
that's bad police.
Bad policing. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, this one's for Richard Thornburg again.
Mm-hmm.
Uses the plane phone to call the news station.
Yeah.
So that phone works, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Call the airport. Get the pilot on the phone. Call the airport.
Yeah.
Land the plane.
Yeah, they can't like calculate the distance to the ground on a phone, can they?
But they have no contact with the air traffic control anyway.
No, I know, yeah, but
so the air traffic control say, well, fly to the next airport.
Yeah, but I don't think they can do that because they won't have the fuel. That's like
take the risk because
what do you mean take the risk? You could like ditch your plane in the middle of Washington. They're obviously like doing it for a reason.
They're doing it because it's dramatic. Like there's no
they're fucking brilliant. Like let's watch every film and go, oh well, why aren't they doing that? Because they're only doing it because it makes for a good film.
No, that is nonsensical because they stayed up there for 5 hours in rotation. It's at least 2 hours. That is fact. It's 2 hours. You can fly across America in 2 hours.
No, you can't.
You can fly some.
You can't
In a Mach 10 jet. You go.
I know, brilliant. Right. What's your point?
My point is, it's definitely less than 2 hours to the next airport.
Yeah, but they don't know that they're going to be up there for 2 hours at the start of the situation.
So use the phone. When they lose contact, they have a working phone on the plane. They can just phone the airport.
Yeah, but the airport doesn't have a phone to answer because all their phone lines are down. It's like a massive power cut.
And no one's got a mobile?
1990.
Yeah, people had mobiles in 1990.
Not many people. John McClane uses a payphone.
Chris, make him spell the 90s, will you? They're payphones.
You may send him a fax from the plane.
Oh, so you don't agree with me?
I don't. Well, I agree with the notion that there's a better use of the phone than
causing mass panic.
Yes, I agree with that. But I don't know whether or not they'd be able to get in touch with the airport.
Fair enough.
I touched on this earlier, so I'm going to keep it brief. Next time you're about to kill someone, don't hesitate.
Yeah.
Run down the escalator and grab the gun.
Yeah.
It's pretty self-explanatory. And that brings the second of our Christmas specials to an end. Die Hard 2, Die Harder. Next Christmas, in fact, next Christmas, we're going to have to find something else to do because the rest of the Die Hard films aren't set at Christmas.
No, that's true.
The next one's Die Hard with a Vengeance. So we'll look to cover that at some point.
We're feeling particularly vengeful.
Yes. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah.
Email address is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com if you'd like to get in touch, suggest a way to survive, suggest a film for us to watch. You can also do that via Twitter @HowToSurvivePod, via Facebook, facebook.com/HowToSurvivePod. You can find all of our video content, which we are looking to increase, on youtube.com/HowToSurvivePod.
Or on our website, HowToSurviveShow.com.
And tomorrow is our last episode of 2017. That's right. We're giving you our regularly scheduled output on top of these Christmas specials because that's just how generous we are. It's the season of goodwill.
Yeah.
And
season of giving.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what we're doing. And we're going back to one of 2017's most successful, most popular films, one that we missed when it was in the cinema. And it marks a significant departure for us because for the first time, we're covering a superhero film. Tomorrow, How to Survive Wonder Woman. Looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it'd be good to watch a movie about a woman.
Great. Well,
it's our first superhero film.
Yeah. It's almost as if I just said that.
No, I'm saying, I'm saying,
reiterating.
I'm kind of questioning it.
Yeah.
124 episodes or something. And we've never done a superhero movie.
Yeah. So that's
weird for a couple of nerdos like us.
Yeah. So looking
what's
forward
your favourite superhero film?
I don't know. Maybe it'll be Wonder Woman.
Do you think it will?
Possibly.
What is it at the moment? Avengers?
Logan, maybe?
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is a good film. That is a good film. I really enjoyed that.
Should have done that.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, not Logan. How to Survive Wonder Woman out tomorrow. Thanks very much for listening. Merry Christmas. And yippee-ki-yay, you